My name is Tyler Goldberg, and I'm the Director of Political Strategy for Assembly. We're lucky enough to be joined by Mark Penn, who's the Chairman and CEO of Stagwell. So Mark, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So as we get going into really the thick of the 2024 election cycle, I wanted to talk a little bit about Stagwell's role as a network in the political and media ecosystem as a whole. So in your opinion, why is it important for commercial marketers to be aware and understanding of the political landscape, both in spending and in creative messaging?
Well, politics, I think, particularly in the US, is bigger than ever. I think it's taking much more of the headspace of average people as they follow politics more closely than ever. It shows you how competitive media works. It shows you how local media works because most political is much more local as opposed to national. And I think it also teaches you some of the new techniques that really can be used to deal with issues as opposed to products. And so I think for all those reasons, it's important for people in commercial marketing to be aware of what's happening in the political sphere.
Absolutely. So Stagwell's somewhat unique in the market in that a lot of the brands that are part of the Stagwell network are actively involved in the political space. How's that been an asset for growing Stagwell's business as a whole, and also making those companies better at applying those lessons to commercial clients?
Well, politics is a growth area, and I think you can look at it in two aspects. Some of our companies run campaigns, and so that really gives them the real-time experience. And I can tell you, based on personal experience, there's nothing quite like a political campaign in terms of trying to understand what people are thinking, having to have the most accurate targeting, and to make split-second decisions. And so I think those teams are incredibly valuable in today's fast-paced commercial world. And I think on the other end, we also do a lot of political fundraising. And I always say that political fundraisers are the best targeted or online marketers that we have because in exchange for their money, consumers get absolutely nothing.
Now, in terms of specific product offerings, can you tell us a little bit about Stagwell's risk and reputation practice, as well as some of the other products developed by Stagwell brands that sort of fit this area of expertise that's sort of in between commercial and political?
Sure, we've seen that when companies get involved in issues, what I say is like people have a political brain and sort of a commercial brain, and usually the political brain's used for voting and the commercial brain for buying. And what happens now is the political brain can take over, and people can act like they're voting when they're buying when things get mixed up with issues. And we've seen that some devastating events in which companies overnight lost billions and billions of values because they didn't understand the complex environment. That's why we created the Risk and Reputation Unit. And it's got some experienced Democrats, experienced Republicans, experienced pollsters, and experienced people who run financial communications all together in one unit. Because if you don't have all four of those skills, I think you're at a handicap when it comes to responding to issues that can crop up and overtake even the most expensive and extensive marketing campaign that you're running almost instantly.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen that, especially in terms of sort of companies and brands advocacy plays and being sort of accused of performative advocacy, and how that also is a risk to your brand, not only being seen as not doing enough, but actively trying to avoid the spotlight can sometimes put you in the spotlight a little more. I know that's something we've been working with clients on through Assembly's ACT suite of tools, which allows commercial marketers to really get the full experience of a political media strategy. Do you envision more products like that coming to market, both from Stagwell, and then do you also envision, as you said, politics is a growth market. Do you think other networks are going to try and replicate Stagwell's success in the area?
Well, Stagwell is at the forefront of creating digital products for its clients, whether it's AI or AR products. I think ACT is really a good example of something that is used first in politics, because in politics, you're always trying to match the competitor. And so having a full suite of tools that analyzes exactly what the competitor is doing, enables you to fill in those gaps and to make sure you meet the competitor, counter their arguments. I think that's just as true, particularly in a lower growth commercial world where people are fighting for market share, just like politicians do. If you don't know what your competition is doing and you don't follow it on the Act suite of tools, then you could be at a real disadvantage. And I found working within companies with vast budgets, oftentimes they would act as though the company is in a universe of its own instead of in an active competitive fight. And to the extent you really are in an active competitive fight, you better have the ACT tools, I think, to help you out.
Absolutely. So I have two more quick questions for you. The first is, we were talking about how political spending, keeps going up and there really never seems to be a ceiling in sight. Do you think in a post-Citizens United world that is going to continue? Do you think we're going to be in a place where, political spending continues to grow cycle over cycle, or will we eventually hit a sort of a ceiling to that?
Well, I used to say that we spend more on marketing a hamburger than we do on all our political campaigns. And I used to point out that politics was chronically underfunded. That's just no longer the case. Whether it's Citizens United or the fact that online contributions really provided a new avenue for fundraising, or that media itself involved people more in politics. It used to be only about 1% that gave to politics. Now we're up about 10%. I think we continue to see that this is a secular growth industry. I kind of suspect that 2024 may represent a top. I think it is going to be the biggest election in history in terms of expenditures by far, because I think people see it as an Armageddon election, and also because the country is divided 50-50, and that means the value of the last vote that could make the difference is infinity. And that's a situation in which expenditures rise. I wouldn't be surprised if the growth started to level off after 2024, but we'll see.
That's a great segue into my final question, sort of knowing your background as a pollster. What do you think will be the issue most animating to voters? Do you think this will be a sort of a classic referendum on, either Biden or Trump? Or do you think there's going to be one issue that's the most animating, again, both to voters who are also consumers? And what can marketers do to prepare for whatever that issue may be?
Well, what the main issues in the campaigns will depend a lot on the campaign strategy. If you just look at polls, inflation, crime, immigration, guns, those are really top issues that you'd expect to play a big role in politics. But those are the days in which, and particularly when I worked in it, we were looking for the swing voters. A lot of the campaigns and the candidates now are looking more for the fans, trying to build turnout up. And so the issues might be more, on the one hand, it might be more about student loans. On the other hand, it might be about, staving off gun regulation, or it might be the social issues are climbing in importance, because it seems to me that they're building, little columns of fans of about 10% around issues now, where they hope to generate turnout. Could be the climate lobby, or it could be those that think that the country's culturally adrift. So I think we get to see who the candidates are finally, and what issues they're gonna run on with. So it may not be the economy stupid. It may be, in fact, a series of fan building issues instead. We'll wait and see what strategies the campaign adopt.
Absolutely. Well, Mark, thank you so much for taking the time to join me and discuss these issues. And I guess we'll have to sit back down in a year and do a mid-cycle report on where things stand. So Mark Penn, Chairman and CEO of Stagwell, thank you very much.
Absolutely, and keep up the great work.
Thank you. Take care.